Hey, what's up everyone? I hope you're doing well. This is Jack from byprogrammers.com and welcome back to a brand new episode of Let's Code React Native. In this episode, we are going to build a clean looking cryptocurrency app based on the design created by David Morgan on Dribbble.com. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification for more videos like this. Alright, now with that being said, let's get started. Starting from this episode, instead of just setting up the project from scratch, we are going to prepare a starter template so that it will be a lot easier for you guys to follow along. So head over to the episode 10 cryptocurrency app starter template. I have included the link in the description below, and from here you can actually download the source code either by using the clone function or the clone method, or you can download the zip file directly. Alright, so once you've done that, this is what you're gonna get. Don't worry, we are going to go through the files that I've added in for this starter template. Alright, so the first file or the first folder that we have here is the assets folder. So as usual, we have the font style that we'll be using in this project, which is Roboto. We have added in the icons, all the icons that we'll be using, and also the images. And within the images folder, we have a new folder called Splash. This is actually for the first screen, which is actually the splash screen over here, right? Let me just open this up so that it's easier to see. There you go. It's actually for this screen, the first screen, also known as the splash screen, right? So here we have two folders, one for Android and the other one for iOS. These are actually the same images, just that it has a different resolution, right? Same thing goes for the Android. It's actually the same splash screen, just that the resolution is different. Don't worry about this for now. I'm gonna show you guys how we can actually generate all these files with different resolutions easily via a website. Alright, so don't worry about this for now. Let me just hide that. And next we have the constants folder. Within the constants folder we have icons.js, which is basically all the icons that we have added in so that it's easier for us to use it later on in the project. Same thing goes for images.js, and then we have also included the themes or the theme that we'll be using later on this project, which includes the colors, the sizes, all sorts of different sizes, and also the font style, right? And this time we have also added in a new file called dummy.js. These are basically all the dummy data that we will be using in the project later on. I'm gonna go through this one by one. So for the portfolio, the first dummy data that we have over here is for this section, your portfolio balance section. So next we have trending currencies. So within this object, within this array, we have a list of objects which has the property of currency, the cryptocurrency code, the image or the icon, the amount, changes, the type, whether it's increase or decrease, the description, the chart data. This is actually for the chart itself, of course. Wallet transaction history is actually for the last screen over here. All right, so pretty much that's about it. We're gonna see how we can use it later on, so don't worry for now. And next we have general transaction history. This is actually for the home screen over here, transaction history. And also we have the chart options. This is for this part over here. All right, and pretty much that's about it, right? So that's all for dummy.js. We are going to see how we can use it later on. And of course, we need to include the index.js file to export all the files that we have created within the constants folder, right? Next, we have also added in a very basic bottom tab navigator, and we are going to see how we can customize it so that it looks like this. All right, so don't worry. We have also added in the screens that we have. So we have home screen, we have crypto detail screen, which is this screen over here with the chart and the description and all that. And also we have the transaction screen, all right, which is the last screen over here. Last but not least, we have also added in the styles folder, which includes all the style properties that we need to customize the appearance of the line graph or line chart, right? So don't worry about this. I'm gonna show you where I got this, style properties, right? So don't worry about this. Oh, and one more thing, and that is the app.js file, where we have also set up the stack navigator for us to, navigate between the home screen, the crypto detail screen, and also the transaction screen. All right. So I think that's all we need to know about this, starter template. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is try to run the starter template. So open up your terminal and run npm install. Then we need to run React Native link. Alright, so head back to your root folder, and now you should be able to run your project by typing React Native run iOS. Alright, so what we have here in the starter template is a very basic bottom tab navigator. Alright, it's a very basic bottom tab navigator, and also the screen name as well as a button to navigate to the subsequent screen. Like for example, I can navigate to crypto detail, and from crypto detail screen I can navigate to the transaction screen. That's all we got in the starter template. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is the splash screen. Now if you are using React Native Expo, changing the splash screen is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is to replace the splash screen image, right? But since we are using React Native CLI, there are some additional steps that we need to take in order to change the splash screen. So to make things easier, we are going to use a library called React Native Splash Screen. But before we install and configure the library, I'm going to show you an easy way to generate these different types of resolutions for both Android and iOS. The first thing you need to do is to prepare a high resolution of your splash screen. The one that I have here is 2000 pixel width times 3000 pixel height. So once you got that ready, you can then head over to a website called appicon.co. This is an awesome site and I use it all the time. Now head over to image sets and drag the largest image to this area. Then after that, click on the generate button and you will get all these different resolutions. Alright, so now back to the React Native splash screen library. Scroll down to the installation section, copy this npm install and paste it in your terminal. Next, we'll need to run React Native link, and also we need to cd into iOS and run pod install. Alright, let me close the app as well. Okay, so for this library, there are two different parts. One is Android and the other one is iOS. We are going to work on iOS first, then after that we will work on Android as well, so don't worry. So the next thing we need to do is to configure the plugin. Scroll down until you find the iOS section. So here we need to update the app.delegate.m file, right? So go back to your source code and open up the iOS folder, open up your project file and open up the app.delegate.m file, right? So here we need to copy a couple of things into our source code. We need to copy this and place it underneath the root view, which is over here. And next we need to copy this and paste it in the did finish launching with options function. So it will be over here, right? Did finish launching with options function, and I'm gonna place it directly above the return statement. Oops. Alright, save it. That's it for the iOS configuration. Next thing we need to do here is to we need to customize the splash screen via launch screen.storyboard, right? So to do this, we need to open up the Xcode. So head over to your project file, iOS folder, and open up the workspace. Alright, so in your Xcode, open up the project file, cryptocurrency app. So here the first thing we need to do is to import the splash screens. So open up the images.assets, and here we need to create a new image set. Alright, let me just rename it to launch screen. So from here I can actually drag and drop the launch screen for iOS directly into Xcode. Right, so I'm gonna highlight these 3 launch screen and drag and drop into Xcode. Just like that. Okay. Once you've done that, next thing we need to do is to head over to your launch screen.storyboard and remove these labels, right? So I'm going to remove the cryptocurrency app label. I'm going to remove the powered by React Native label. I'm going to remove this empty label as well. And I'm going to select the super view over here and click on the ruler icon. And here I'm going to uncheck the save area layout guide. Okay, cool. Next we need to click on the plus icon over here, search for image, and drag this image view into the view, just like that. And next we need to set the constraints of this image view. So click on this button underneath the screen over here, add new constraints, and set all the constraints to 0. I'm going to uncheck this as well and click add constraints. Alright, so now we got the image view in place. Next we need to head over to the image view property by clicking on this button and change the image to launch screen. And of course we need to change the content mod to aspect field, just like that. Now you can go ahead and build the Xcode project. Okay, so once the build succeeded, head back to your source code in your terminal, and you can then run React Native, run Android, React Native, run iOS, right? Alright, cool. The splash screen is now showing on iOS devices. All we need to do now is to hide this splash screen in the app.js file like this. Alright, so I'm gonna head over to the app.js file, and here I'm going to import from React Native splash screen. I'm gonna import a splash screen from React Native splash screen, right? So within the app functional component, we need to add a use effect hook. So react.useEffect, like that. And here we will need to hide the splash screen. So splash screen.hide. What it means is that as soon as the app is fully loaded, the splash screen will be hidden. So save it, and I'm going to restart this app. Well, I think I need to restart the app entirely to see the splash screen in action. So React Native, run iOS. So the splash screen is showing, and after a few seconds it will navigate to the home component. Great. Alright, next we'll work on the Android version. So let me just close this simulator. I'm gonna close this Xcode as well, this one as well. Okay, now we need to refer back to the GitHub repo and look for the third step, plugin configuration Android version. So what we need to do here is that we need to update the main-activity.java file and include certain things over here. So let's navigate to the main-activity.java file. I'm gonna hide the iOS and open up Android folder. It's in the app folder, source, main, Java, main-activity.java file over here. So I'm going to copy and paste a couple of things. We need this. Alright, this one, because we're using a later version, so we will copy this one instead of this one. Alright, so I'm gonna paste it over here. And lastly, I am going to copy the onCreate function and paste it over here. Alright, save it. And next we need to over here we need to create a file called launch_screen.xml in the layout folder. So go back to your source code. In the rest folder, we need to create a layout folder. So create a folder called layout, and within this layout folder we are going to create a new file called launch_screen.xml. And for this, I'm just gonna copy and paste everything from here. Alright. And what we need to do next is that we need to copy all our assets into the res folder over here. So simply look for the assets. It's in the assets folder, images, splash screen, Android, and I'm just gonna copy everything and drag and drop into the res folder. Just like that. Copy folders. Alright, and lastly, we need to create colors.xml file in the values folder. So head over to your values folder, which is this one. And here we need to create a new file called colors.xml. And same thing, I'm just gonna copy everything from here and paste it inside the colors.xml file. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is to open up your Android folder by using Android Studio. So open up your Android Studio and then click on the Open an Existing Android Studio Project button, and lastly open up the Android folder. The reason why we are doing this by using Android Studio is because I want Android Studio to build the project properly so that we won't face any issues later on when we run in Android version, right? Alright, so after you see configure successful, what I would normally do is that I will head over to build and rebuild the project just to be safe. Alright, so once you see build successful, next open up the AVD manager and you can then open up a simulator of your choice. I'm gonna go with Pixel 3a. Alright, so up to this point we have successfully implemented the splash screen for both iOS and Android. Next we are going to work on the bottom tab navigator. But before that, let me just quickly switch it back to iOS. I'm gonna close this. Alright, so we have successfully loaded the iOS simulator. Next we'll be working on the bottom tab navigator. Now if you pay attention to the middle button over here, it has a bit of a gradient color. So in order to achieve this effect, we need to install a library called React Native Linear Gradient. So scroll down and copy the npm install. You can use yarn if you want to, and paste it in your terminal. Now every time after you install a library, it's always a good practice to restart your app. So close the app and run React Native link and followed by pod install in the iOS folder. Alright, now we can navigate back to the root folder and run React Native run iOS. Alright, now we'll then head over to the navigation folder and open up tabs.js file. And here I am going to import the linear gradient from the React Native linear gradient library. Alright, so import linear gradient from React Native linear gradient. Alright, next we will be adding the tab bar options prop for the tab.navigator. So tab bar options. I would like to hide the label, so show label equals to false. And I'm gonna give it some customized style. So position absolute, bottom 0, left 0, right 0, elevation 0, background color equals to white, border top color equals to transparent, and height equals to 100. Alright, next we'll need to customize the tab.screen component. So for, let me just head back to the mockup. So for these 4 tabs, home, portfolio, prices, settings, we will need to have an icon of the tab and followed by the label. Alright, so let's work on that. We are going to start up with the home tab, so we need to add the options prop, tab bar icon, focus, and I'm going to return a view, a container view with an image and also a text component, right? So the style for the container view is going to be align item, center, and justify content, center. And for the image, the source is going to be icons.home, resize mode equals to contain, style is going to be width 30, height 30, tint color, if it's currently being focused, then I will use the primary color. If it's not, then I will stick to black color, right? And for the label, it's going to be home. We need to give it some styling as well. So color, if it's currently being focused, we'll be using the primary color. If it's not, then we will stick to black color. And of course, the fonts is going to be body 5. Alright, cool. Next, I am going to copy this options prop, and paste it in the portfolio tab over here. And we are going to change the icons to icons.pie-chart, and the label it's going to be portfolio. And same thing, I'm going to paste it in the prices tab, and I'm going to change the icons to line graph, and the label it's going to be prices. We will come back to the transaction tab later on because the transaction tab is slightly different, so we'll work on that, don't worry. And lastly, we will copy and paste it in the settings tab. And same thing, we need to change the icons to dot settings, and the label it's going to be settings. Save it. Perfect. Alright, next we'll work on the transaction tab. Same thing, we need to add the options prop. So come over here under the transaction tab, we need to add the options prop as well. Same thing, we need tab bar icon. Just that this time we only need the image component. So image, the source is going to be icons.transaction, resize mode is going to be contain, and style is going to be width 30, height 30, and tint color equals to white. You won't be able to see it now because the tint color is white, but that's okay. So we will add another property over here, tab bar button. This is so that we can customize the tab button, right? So here I'm going to return a customized component which we are going to create shortly. So it's called tab bar custom button, and I'm going to pass in the props. So now I am going to create this tab bar custom button functional component right on top of this tabs component. Right, so const tab bar custom button, we need children and on press, and here I'm going to return a touchable opacity, and for this touchable opacity we need to give it some styling. So style equals to top -30, justify content center, align item center, and of course we need to give it some shadow as well. So for the unpress equals to the unpress method over here, and within this touchable opacity we need to use the linear gradient. Alright, so this is to achieve the gradient effect over here. So linear gradient And within this linear gradient, we will render the children. And for the style, it's going to be width 70, height 70, and the border radius is going to be 35. And for the colors prop, it will be colors.primary and also colors.secondary. Save it. Perfect. Alright, now that the bottom tab navigator is completed, next we'll be working on the home screen. So head back to your source code and open up the home.js file. And here I'm going to import some components which we'll be using later on. So I need style sheet, view, text, scroll view, flat list, touchable opacity, I need image background, and that's all for now. And I also need to import from constants as well. So I need the dummy data, I need colors, I need sizes, I need fonts, I need icons, and also images. So for the home, I am going to return a scroll view. And within the scroll view, I am going to create a container view with some styling. So style equals to flex1 and padding bottom equals to 130. The reason why we need to add a padding bottom is so that the scroll view content will not be blocked by the tab bar button, this floating button over here later on, alright? Okay, so the first thing we will be working on is the header section, this whole section over here. So go back to your source code, and within this view, we are going to render a function. It's called render header. And we are going to create this function over here. So function render header, and I'm going to return something. And here we are going to create a container view. So view, give it some styling. Width equals to 100%, height equals to 290, and we need to give it some shadow as well. And now within this view, we will add a component called image background. So the source is going to be images.banner. Resize mode is going to be cover, and style is going to be flex1 and align item center. And now within this image background, we will have the header bar over here, the balance section, and also the trending section. Alright, so we are going to have the header bar section, the balance section, and also the trending section. So for the header bar, we will be creating a view with some styling. Margin top equals to sizes.padding times 2. Width equals to 100%. Align item equals to flex n, and padding horizontal equals to sizes.padding. And now within this view, we will be creating a touchable opacity. Give it some styling. So style equals to width 35, height 35, align item center, justify content center, and whenever I click on this button, I am going to console log some messages on the terminal, right? So I'm gonna console log notification on press. Okay, now within this button, we need to add an image component. So image source is going to be icons.notification white. Resize mode is going to be content, and style is going to be flex 1. Alright, cool. Next, we'll be working on the portfolio balance section. So over here, we need to create a view. Give it some styling. Align item, center, justify content, center. And within this view, we have text component. We need 3 text components actually. So just copy and paste like that. And for the first component, it's going to be a label that says your portfolio balance. And the style for this component is going to be color equals to white, and the font is going to be H3 like that. And now for the second text component, we will give it a $, and then we will get the data from our dummy data, right? Dummy data dot portfolio dot balance. We are actually retrieving the data from the constants dummy file, which is this part over here. So what this does is that we are basically getting the data, the balance data, from dummy data dot portfolio dot balance, which is this figure over here. So go back and press save, and there you go, the figures is being reflected properly. So now we just need to add some styling. So style is equals to margin top sizes dot base, color equals to white, and the font is going to be H1. Perfect. And for the third and the last text component, we are going to get from the dummy data as well. So dummy data dot portfolio dot changes space last 24 hours. And now we need to give it some styling. So style equals to colors dot white, and the font it's going to be body 5. Alright, cool. Alright, so the third and last component, or the last section for the header, is the trending section. So over here we are going to create a view, give it some styling, position equals to absolute, and bottom equals to -30%. And within this view we will have a text component that renders trending. Alright, so give it some styling as well. So margin left equals to sizes dot padding, color equals to white, and font equals to H2. Alright, and underneath this text component we'll be creating a flat list, and the content container style is going to be margin top sizes dot base, data is going to be trending. This is actually the React state hook, which we are going to set it shortly. So render item is going to be render item, which we will create shortly as well. The key extractor is going to be item item.id. I want the flat list to be horizontal, and I do not want the horizontal scroll indicator. So shows horizontal scroll indicator equals to false. So now we need to create the trending React state hook. So scroll to the top, right on top of the render header function, I am going to create this, React state hook. So constant trending set trending equals to react.useState, and here we are going to pull the data from dummy data dot trending currency. There you go, which is actually these datas over here, trending currencies. Alright, next we will need to set up the render item function for this flat list. So scroll to the top, right above the return statement, we are going to create the render item functional component. So constant render item equals to item index, and I am going to return a touchable opacity with some styling, width equals to 180, padding vertical equals to sizes.padding, padding horizontal equals to sizes.padding as well. Now for the margin left, if it's the first element, so if index equals to 0, the margin left is going to be sizes.padding, but if it's not, then it's going to be 0. So for margin right, it's going to be sizes.radius, border radius equals to 10, and background color equals to colors.white. And within the trending element or trending item, we will have two main components, which are the currency and also the value. Alright, so go back here. Within this touchable opacity, we will have two main components or two main sections, which are the currency and also value. So for the currency section, we will first create a view, give it some styling, flex direction equals to row, and within this view, I am going to create two more views. One is for the image, so over here I'm going to create an image component. Source is going to be item.image. Resize mode is going to be cover, and style is going to be margin top 5, width 25, and height 25 as well. Alright, and for the second view, I'll give it some styling. So style equals to margin left equals to sizes dot base, and within this view we will have two text components. The first text component is going to be the currency, and the second text component is going to be the code. Alright, so item.code. Alright, cool. Now we just need to give it some styling. So the first text component is going to be style fonts equals to h2, and the second text component, the style is going to be color equals to colors dot gray, and fonts will be body tree. Perfect. Now for the value section, same thing, we will create a view as well, give it some styling. So margin top equals to sizes dot radius, and within this view we will have two text components. The first text component is going to be the item amount, and the second text component is going to be item.changes. Alright, cool. Now all we need to do is to give it some styling. So the first text component, the style is going to be fonts h2, and for the second text component, if this item has a type of I, which means increase, I am going to set the color to green. However, if it's not I, then I will set the color to red, and the font is going to be H3. Perfect. Alright, now that the header area or header section is completed, next we'll be working on the alert section, right? Now, if you pay attention to the mark, we also have another alert section over here in the crypto detail screen, right? Now, because a part of this component is hidden, I am going to assume that these two components, these two alert components, are having the same layout for the sake of this tutorial. And whenever we have the same layout, same UI layout being rendered on multiple different screens, what we can do is that we can create a standalone component for this alert section so that it can be reused over and over again, right? So go back to your source code and same thing, I am going to create a function called render alert, right? And I am going to create this function over here. So function render alert, and I'm going to return something. But instead of returning view and all that, I am going to return a custom component called price alert. So now what we need to do next is that we need to create a folder called components, right? So over here, I'm going to create a folder called components. And within this folder, we are going to have a file called price alert. Alright, same thing, it's going to be a normal functional component, so I'm going to import from React. I'm going to import a couple of components from React Native as well. So I need style sheet, I need view, I need text, I need touchable opacity, and also I need the image component, right? Next, we need to import from the constants as well. So import from constants. And we need the colors, sizes, fonts, and also icons. So here we can actually create the price alert functional component. So constant price alert. We will be taking in one prop called custom container style. And I am going to return something, right? So make sure to export the price alert as well. And here right before the export statement, I need a style for the shadow, right? So styles equals to style sheet dot create, and here I need shadow color equals to black, shadow offset equals to width 0, height 4, shadow opacity equals to 0.3, shadow radius equals to 4.65, and lastly the elevation is going to be 8. Alright, now for the price alert, I need to return a touchable opacity. Give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. Align item equals to center. Margin top equals to sizes dot padding times 4.5. Margin horizontal equals to sizes dot padding. Padding vertical equals to sizes dot padding. Padding horizontal equals to sizes dot radius. Background color equals to white. Border radius equals to sizes dot radius. And here we will be taking in the custom container style, if any. Alright, so custom container style. And also we need to include the shadows as well. So styles.shadow. And now within this touchable opacity, we need an image view. So image. Because if you look at the price alert section, we have an image and followed by the text components, right? So we need an image. The source is going to be icons.notification color. The style is going to be width 30 and height 30. So after the image, we will be creating a view component, and within this view we have two text components, which are actually these two, right? So the first text component is set price alert, and the second text component is basically some description, right? Okay, now we need to give it some styling. So for the view, we have flex equals to 1, margin left equals to sizes.radius. And for the first text component, the style is going to be fonts h3, and for the second text component, the style is going to be fonts body 4. And lastly, we need to have one more image component to render this right arrow, right? So over here underneath this view, we will have another image component. Source will be icons.right arrow, and the style is going to be width 25 and height 25, and also the tint color is going to be colors.gray. Now save it, and before we can use this component, we need to create an index file within the components folder. So create a new file called index.js, and within this file we need to import price alert from price alert, and here we need to export the price alert. This is so that it's easier for us to use these components throughout these screens over here, right? So export price alert, just like that. Save it, and now you can go back to your home screen, scroll to the top, and here we need to import from our components, right? So import from components, and we need to import the price alert component. And now we can actually use this component over here, just like that. So save it, and there you go. The price alert component is being rendered properly right underneath the header section as expected, right? Cool. Alright, so after the price alert section, next we'll be working on the notice section. Okay, so just head over to the container view and render notice. So I'm going to create this new function over here. So function render notice, and here I am going to return a view with some styling. Margin top equals to sizes.padding. Margin horizontal equals to sizes.padding as well. Padding equals to 20. Border radius equals to sizes.radius. Background color equals to colors.secondary. And of course we need to add the shadows as well, so styles.shadow. So now within this view, for the notice section, we have two text components followed by one touchable opacity or one button over here, right? So we'll be creating two text components. The first one is going to be investing safety, and for the second text component is the notice, right? Alright, cool. Now we'll give it some styling. So for the first text component, style equals to color, colors.white, and the font is going to be h3. For the second component, the style is going to be margin top equals to sizes.base, and color equals to white. The font is going to be body 4, and I would like to override the line height to 18. Perfect. And lastly, we will render the learn more button. So over here we will create a touchable opacity, give it some styling. So style equals to margin top sizes base, And whenever I click on this, I will console log learn more. So within this touchable opacity, we will render a text view with the label of learn more, and the style is going to be text decoration line equals to underline, because this button actually has an underline underneath the text, right? So underline, and the color is going to be green, and the font is going to be H3. Oops, a bit of typo over here. Perfect. Alright, that's all for the notice section. Now for the last component in the home screen is actually the transaction history. Again, this component over here has the exact same layout as the transaction history in the transaction screen over here, which means we can create a standalone component for this transaction history and reuse it in these two screens. So go back to your source code. First thing first, let me set up the React state hook for the transaction history data. So constant transaction history set transaction history equals to react.useState, and we are getting this data from dummy data.transaction history, which is let me see, yep, this data over here, this one, transaction history. Okay, so go back to your home.js, and same thing, I am going to create a new function called render transaction history, and I'm going to create this function over here. And now we are going to return a custom component called transaction history, and this component should take up two props. The first one is called custom container style, which I am going to pass in the shadow, right? And the second prop is going to be the history, and I'm going to pass in the transaction history React state hook, which is basically the data to be rendered in the flat list, right? Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to create the transaction history component. So create a new file called transaction history.js. Same thing, I'm going to import from React. I'm going to import a couple of components from React Native as well. So I need view, I need text, I need flat list, I need touchable opacity, and also I need image component. After that, we need to import from constant. So import from constants. Here it's going to be colors, sizes, fonts, and also icons. Next, we can then create the functional component for transaction history. So constant transaction history that takes up two props. The first one is called custom container style, and the second one is the history. So here I'm going to return something, and also don't forget to export default the transaction history. Now we are going to return a view, a container view with some styling. So margin top equals to sizes.padding, margin horizontal equals to sizes.padding as well, padding equals to 20, border radius equals to sizes.radius, background color equals to colors.white, and now we will need to include the custom container style as well, if any, right? So within this view, the first thing we need is actually the transaction history label. So we need a text component over here, transaction history, give it some styling. So style equals to fonts.h2. Now let me first try to export this component over here in the index.js file so that you can see in action. So over here we need to import from transaction history. We need to import the transaction history and we need to export it from here. So in your home, we can actually import the transaction history from component. And now if you save it, you should be able to see the label. Oh, my mistake, I forgot to save the index.js file over here. There you go. Now head back to the transaction history component. After the text component, we need to render a flat list, right? Which is basically the transaction history data. So within this flat list, we need to set the content container style equals to margin top equals to sizes.radius, scroll enable equals to false, data equals to history, which is this prop over here, key extractor equals to item.id, render item equals to render item, which we are going to work on it shortly, shows vertical scroll indicator equals to false, and for the separator line in between the items, we are going to use a prop called item separator component to render the line, right? So over here we just need to return a view with some styling. So style equals to width 100%, height equals to 1, and background color equals to colors.light gray. So next we need to work on the render item function. So over here, constant render item equals to item, and here I'm going to return a touchable opacity with some styling, flex direction equals to row, align item equals to center, padding vertical equals to sizes.base. And whenever I click on this button, I will just console log the item itself, just like that. And now within this touchable opacity, we need to render an image followed by two text components and followed by another text component, and lastly is the image component. Alright, so here we need to first render the image component. So image source equals to icons.transaction, style is going to be width 30, height 30, tint color equals to colors.primary. Now after this image, we need to render a view, give it some styling. So flex equals to 1, margin left equals to sizes.radius, and within this view we will have two text components. So the first one is going to be item.description, and the second one is going to be item.date. So now we just need to give it some styling. So this one is going to be fonts.h3, and the second text component is going to be color equals to colors.gray, and the font will be body 4. Save it and let's see what do we have on the screen. Alright, cool. Now the reason why we are getting this virtualized list warning is because we are rendering a flat list within a scroll view. I did mention in the previous episode, if you would like to get rid of this warning, the virtualized list warning, you will need to render the other components by using the flat list header component props, right? However, we can't use that approach in this project, or else we wouldn't be able to achieve this layout or design, right? So in this case, it's completely safe to ignore this warning, and we can actually hide this warning in the home.js file. So head over to your home.js file, scroll to the top, and we need to import lockbox from React Native, and here we are going to use the use effect hook, so react.useEffect. Now within this use effect, which means whenever the home screen is loaded, I am going to ignore the lock. Alright, so lockbox.ignore locks, and I would like to ignore virtualize list should never be nested. That's it. There you go. The warning is gone. Now let's continue with our transaction history component. So head back to your transaction history. After this view, we will need to render another view that has a text component and also an image component. So within this view, we have a text component and also an image component. So this for this view, we need to add some styling. So flex direction equals to row. The height is going to be 100%, and align item center. So for the text component, we are going to render the item amount and followed by the item C. And for the image, the source is going to be icons.right arrow, and the style is going to be width 20, height 20, and tint color colors.gray. Alright, we are almost there. We just need to add a little bit of styling for the text component. So for the for the text component style, I would like to set the color of this text component, and if the item type equals to B, which stands for buy or bought, then the color is going to be green, or else it's going to be black, and the font is going to be H3. Save it. Perfect. Alright, that's it for the home screen. Next, we'll need to add the onPress prop for this trending item so that we can navigate to the crypto detail screen. Alright, so go back to the home.js file, and in the render header function, we need to add the onPress props over here. So onPress equals to navigation dot navigate. I would like to navigate to crypto detail screen, and I would like to pass in the item as the param. Alright, so over here, I'm gonna pass the item as the param. Okay, now save it. Alright, so if I click on this trending item, I should be able to navigate to the crypto detail screen. Alright, so let's head over to the crypto detail screen, and here I need to import a couple more components. Alright, so I need save area view, I need view, I need text, I need touchable opacity, I need image, I need scroll view, and also I need the animated component as well. Alright, so over here I need to import from the constants as well. So import from constants, and I need the dummy data, I need the colors, I need sizes, I need fonts, icons, and yep, I think that's all. And now for the crypto detail screen, we are going to wrap everything within a save area view. So save area view, I'm gonna give it some styling. Flex equals to 1, and background color equals to colors.light gray. 1. Now if we refer back to the mock, the first component that we are going to render is actually this header bar over here. And again, we also have a very similar layout of this header bar in the transaction screen, which means we can again create a standalone component for this header bar. Just that we need to add some additional handling for this star button over here, because the star button is not visible in the transaction screen. Alright, so go back to your source code. Let's create a new file within the components folder called header bar. So same thing, I need to import from React. I need to import a couple of components from React Native. So I need view, I need text, I need touchable opacity, and also I need the image component. After that, we also need to import from React Navigation Native. We need to import use navigation, and also we need to import from the constants. We need colors, sizes, fonts, and also icons. Next, we can then create the header bar functional component. So constant header bar. This component, it's going to take one prop called write. And this prop is actually for us to customize the visibility of the star button. Okay, so go back here, arrow function. And here I'm going to return something, and don't forget to export the header bar as well. Now here I am going to return a view with some styling. Padding horizontal equals to sizes.padding, and also the flex direction should be row. Now within this view, we are going to have two more views. One is for the back button over here, and the other one is for the star button. Okay, so for the first view, we need to give it some styling. So style equals to flex 1, and align item equals to flex start. And within this view, we need to add the touchable opacity, give it some styling, flex direction equals to row, and align items equals to center. And now since this is a back button, so whenever I click on this button, I should be able to navigate back to the previous screen. So on press, I should be able to navigation, go back. And we need to create the navigation over here. So constant navigation equals to use navigation, like that. And now within this touchable opacity, we need an image. Source is going to be icons.back arrow. Resize mode is going to be content, and style is going to be width 25, height 25, and also tint color equals to colors.grade. Alright, so after the image component, we need the text component. So here it's going to be back, and the style is going to be margin left equals to sizes.base, and the font style is going to be H2. Alright, that's it for the back button. Next, we need to work on the star button, right? So we need to give it some styling. Style equals to flex equals to 1, and align item equals to flex n. And within this view, we have the touchable opacity, and the image is going to be source icons.star, resize mode equals to content, and style is going to be width 30 and height 30. And lastly, we will only render this star button if the right props equals to true. So we do it this way. Perfect. Now save it and head over to the index.js file, and over here we need to export the header bar like that. To export it over here as well. Save it, and in the crypto detail screen we will need to import the header bar from components. So here we need to import header bar like that. Alright, and next we are going to render this header bar over here. Within this save area view, the first component is going to be header bar. And in the crypto detail screen, we are going to show the star button, so the right props we have to set it to true like that. Save it. Oops, I mean true like that. Alright, so navigate to the crypto detail screen, and there you go, the header bar has been rendered successfully. And if I click on the back button, I should be able to navigate back to the previous screen. Perfect. Alright, now before we proceed to the next section, let me just try to restart the app for a bit. Oops, it seems like I have a typo somewhere. It's tint color. Let me see. Yep, there's a typo over here. It's in the transaction history component, so I'm gonna fix this like that. Alright, now we can head back to the crypto detail screen, and next we will be working on the chart section. Alright, so over here underneath the header bar, I am going to create a scroll view, and within the scroll view I am going to create a view with some styling. So flex equals to 1 and padding bottom equals to sizes.padding. And within this view I am going to create a function called render chart, and I am going to place the function over here. Function render chart, and I'm going to return something. So now let us first work on the container view. Alright, so over here we will return a view and give it some styling. Margin top equals to sizes.padding. Margin horizontal equals to sizes.radius. Align items equals to center. Border radius equals to sizes.radius. Background color equals to colors.white. And lastly, we will include the shadows as well. So styles.shadow. Now if you take a look at the chart section, it can be divided into 4 different sections. The first one is actually the header. Alright, the second one is the chart section. The third one is the option section. And lastly, the fourth section is the dots section. Alright, and the UI layout for this section over here, the currency label, is actually identical with this one over here and also this one over here in the transaction screen. In other words, we can actually create a standalone component for this currency label and use it in multiple different places. Alright, so let's work on that now. So in the components folder, I am going to create a new file called currency label. And here I am going to import from React. I am going to import a couple of components from React Native. So I need view, I need image, and also I need text. I need image and also I need text, right? So over here, after this we need to import from constants as well. Here we need the colors, sizes, and also fonts. Alright, so after this we will create the currency label functional component. So constant currency label equals to, we will be taking in 3 props over here. So icon, currency and also code. Here we will return it. Don't forget we need to export this component. So export default currency label, and over here we will return a view with some styling. Flex direction equals to row, and within this view we will have an image component. Source equals to icon, which is this one over here, and resize mode equals to cover. Style equals to width 25, height 25, and also margin top 5. After the image component, we will have another view. Give it some styling. Margin left equals to sizes.base. And here we will have two text components actually. Yep, two text components. So two text components. Alright, so this one is going to be currency, and this one is going to be code. And lastly, we will give the text component a bit of styling. So style equals to fonts hatch tree, and this one style equals to color equals to colors.gray, and the font is body 4. Save it, and we will need to export the currency label over here as well, the index file. So I'm going to import the currency label over here, so currency label, and export it over here. Oops, I think a bit of typo. It's label. Yep. Let me just double confirm. Yep, it's label. And now we can head back to the crypto details screen, and from here we can import the currency label component. Alright, next we can then work on the chart section. So don't forget, in the chart section we have 4 different sections, right? So we have the header, which is this one over here. We have the chart, we have the options, and also dots, right? So we have options and also dots. Alright, so for the header we will create a view, give it some styling. Flex direction equals to row. Margin top equals to sizes.padding. Padding horizontal equals to sizes.padding as well. And within this container view we will have 2 more views. One is actually for the currency label, and the other one is for the amount. Alright, so over here we'll give it some styling. The style is going to be flex 1. So flex 1. And within this view we will create the currency label component. We'll pass in the icon, so the icon is going to be selected. Oh, it seems like I forgot to initialize the selected currency. So in the previous screen, in the home screen, whenever we navigate to the crypto detailed screen, we have actually passed in the selected currency as the param, right? So head back to the crypto detailed screen, scroll to the top, and here we need to first create the selected currency react state hook. So selected currency, set selected currency, and here react.useState, and the initial value is going to be null. And in order to retrieve the params from the navigation, we need something what we call route. Alright, so over here we need to use the use effect hook. So react.use effect, like that, arrow function. Okay, and here we will get the selected currency from the route params. This one is actually from here. Alright, so we'll get the selected currency, and of course we need to set the selected currency just like that. Alright, so now we can then pass in the icon. So selected currency dot image currency equals to selected currency dot currency, and code equals to selected currency dot code, like that. There you go. And for the second view, we will need to render two text components. So over here, we will render two text components. And the first one is going to be a $, and selected currency dot amount, and the second one is going to be selected currency dot changes. And now we just need to give it some styling. So this one, style equals to fonts h3, and this one, style equals to, I am going to set the color to green. Alright, so colors.green if the selected currency dot type equals to I, which stands for increase. Alright, so if it's I, then I will render it as green color. If it's not, then then I will render it as red. And of course the text, the font style is going to be body tree. Perfect. Alright, so we have completed the header section over here. Next we'll move on to the chart section. So in order to implement a chart like this, we will need to use a library called Victory Native. So scroll down and copy this, npm install, and paste it in your terminal and hit enter. Alright, so next we need to install the dependency as well, which is React Native SVG. So copy and paste it in your terminal. Now every time we install a new library, it's always a good practice to restart your app. So now we need to run React Native link, and also we need to cd into iOS and run pod install. Alright, so after this we can then navigate back to the root folder and run the iOS, right? So React Native run iOS. Alright, now let me first hide the terminal, and next we need to import a couple of things from Victory Native library. So over here we need to import from Victory Native, and here we need Victory scatter, we need Victory line, we need Victory chart, and also we need Victory exists. Alright, and after this we need to import from style. Alright, so we need to import from styles, and we need to import the Victory custom theme from styles. Alright, so for the Victory custom theme, we have actually included in the starter template, and we actually got all this style properties from the Victory Native documentation. So over here, you can head over to the Victory Native documentation. Under the themes section, click on the Victory theme documentation, and over here you can see all Victory themes. So what I did was I actually copied everything from the material.js. You see, it's more or less the same thing, just that I changed some of the figures so that it looks like our mock over here. So if you want, you can play around with these figures, change things around and see what happened. If not, you can just stick to the starter template. That's totally fine. Alright, so now we can then navigate back to the crypto details screen. And now underneath the header section over here, we can then create a view. Alright, and give it some styling. So margin top equals to -25. So within this view, we will have the Victory chart. Okay, so Victory chart, and we need to set some of the props. So over here we need to give it the theme that we have already set up over here. So team is equals to victory custom team, and we need to set the height to 220, and width will be equals to sizes.width minus 40. Alright, so as you can see, the chart is actually showing. So now within this victory chart component, we need to include the victory line component. We need to give it some styling. So data stroke equals to colors.secondary, and for the parent, it's going to be border 1 pixel solid and gray color. Alright, so next we'll include the data prop. So data equals to selected currency dot chart data, and lastly we will need to add the categories prop. So categories, which is basically the x and y axis. So x equals to an array of 15 minute, 30 minute, 45 minute, and 60 minute. And for the y, it's going to be 15, 30, and 45. Oops, I need a comma over here. Alright, so the line has been plotted properly based on the data and chart data, and also the x and y axis have been reflected properly as well. Now, in order to keep things simple in this tutorial, I am just going to hard code the values for the x and y axis. However, if you want, you can use the React state hook and change the x and y axis depending on the selected options over here. Alright, so next we need to add the victory scatter component. So data is going to be selected currency dot chart data. The size is going to be 7. Style is going to be data fill colors dot secondary. So once you save it, you should be able to see the dots are being rendered over here. Alright, next we'll need to work on the horizontal lines behind the chart. Okay, so over here we need the victory axis component. Give it some styling. So read stroke is transparent, and we need another victory axis component over here. Dependent axis. Style is going to be axis stroke transparent, and grid is going to be stroke gray. Alright, save it. And there you go, the chart is now completed. Now if you refer back to the mark, we have 3 dots here underneath the chart section, which basically means that this chart should be horizontally scrollable. So in order not to complicate things, I am going to render the same chart for 3 times. Alright, so let's see how we can do that. Okay, so first thing first, we need to create 2 variables over here. So we need something what we call scroll x equals to new animated dot value 0. The initial value is 0. We need this variable, the scroll x variable, to control the dots later on. Alright, so next we need a dummy array called number of charts. Since we are going to render the same chart for 3 times, so I am going to create an array with 3 integers. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and now we can head back to the chart section over here, and now we will need to wrap the whole thing with animated.scrollView. Okay, I'm gonna paste it over here so that everything is being wrapped inside the animated scroll view. And now we need to set some of the props, so it has to be horizontal. Alright, so padding enable, scroll event throttle equals to 16, snap to alignment equals to center, snap to interval equals to sizes.width minus 40, shows horizontal scroll indicator equals to false, deceleration rate equals to 0, and lastly on scroll equals to animated.event. Okay, now native event content offset x scroll x. Alright, and over here we will need to specify the use native driver equals to false. So basically what this means is that we will get the scroll position of the animated scroll view and assign it into the scroll x variable, right? Alright, so now over here we will need to render the same chart for 3 times. So to do that, we will set the number of charts dot map. We will use the map method. Okay, so item index, and we are going to return something, and I'm gonna paste everything into the map method. Oops, like that. And now we need to give it a container view. So over here we create a view. We need to set the key prop, so key equals to chart dash index. Alright, and the style is going to be margin left. If the index is 0, then the margin left is going to be sizes.base. If it's not, then it's going to be 0. Alright, so cut it and paste it over here so that everything is wrapped nicely. Now if you save it, you should be able to scroll the chart view. The chart. Perfect. Alright, so after the chart, next we'll be working on the options. So to do this, we need to first create 2 React state hook. Alright, so over here, constant chart options, set chart options equals to React use state, and the initial data is going to be from dummy data dot chart options, and we need another React state hook to store the selected options. Alright, so over here, selected option, set selected option equals to react.useState, and the initial value is going to be the first object from chart options array. So over here I'm gonna just put like this. Okay. Alright, so now if we take a look at the mock, we can actually create a standalone component called text button for all these options over here, and we can also reuse it for the buy button and also the trade button over here. The reason being is because all these buttons, they actually share the same characteristic, which is a button with a text in the middle. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a text button component based on this design over here, and then we will include a prop so that it can be customized. The UI layout can be customized to look like this as well. Alright, so let's see how we can do that. So under the components folder, we can create a new file called text button. Same thing, we need to import from React. We need to import a couple of components from React Native as well. So we need text, and also we need touchable opacity, like that. Next, we need to import from constants as well. And here we need the colors, the sizes, and also fonts. Alright, and lastly we can create the text button functional component. Alright, so equals to, we need to tag in 4 props. So here we have label, we have custom container style, we have custom label style, And also we have the onPress method for the touchable opacity. Alright, so we can then return something. Don't forget we need to export the text button component as well. So export default text button. And here we are going to return touchable opacity. We need to give it some styling. So the height equals to 45, align item center, justify content center, border radius equals to sizes.radius, background color equals to colors.green, and lastly we will include the custom container style as well. So the onPress equals to onPress, and within this touchable opacity we are going to have a text component just like this. Alright, so we have a text component that renders the label. Now we need to give it some styling. So style equals to color equals to colors.white, and the font is going to be H3, and we will also include the custom label style over here. Save it. Don't forget we need to include it in the index file as well, if not we wouldn't be able to use it. So I am going to import from text button, and I'm going to export it from here. So text button like that. Alright, so now we can then head back to the crypto detailed screen and work on the options button, right? So scroll down to the options section. Over here I'm going to create a view, give it some styling. So the width is going to be 100%, padding horizontal equals to sizes dot padding, flex direction equals to row, and justify content equals to space between. Now within this view we are going to render all the chart options by using the map method. So over here, chart options dot map, we have option, and over here we'll use the arrow function and return. Oops. Oh, and we will need to include the, import the text button over here. So import text button so that we can use it in the options section. Okay, so return text button. The key is going to be option dash option.id. Now whenever you are using a loop to render a view for multiple times, you will need to supply the key prop, or else React Native will throw you a warning, right? So next we have the label equals to option.label, and we have the custom container style. It's going to be height 30, width 60, border radius 15, and the background color is going to be colors.primary if the selected option.id equals to option.id. If it's not, then the color will be colors.lightgray. So what this means is that if a particular option is being selected, then the color is going to be colors.primary. If it's not, then it's going to be colors.lightgray, just like this. Alright. So next we'll need to set the custom label style as well. So color, same thing, if selected option ID equals to option.id, then the label style, the label color is going to be colors.white. If it's not, then it's going to be colors.gray. And the font style is going to be fonts.body5. Oh, and I need to close the bracket over here and save it. Alright, now that the chart options have been rendered properly, next we'll need to include the onPress prop. This is so that whenever a particular chart option is being clicked or pressed, we can set the selected option React state hook. Okay, so onPress equals to option on click handler, and we are going to pass in the option. So I am going to create this function at the top. So over here, underneath the use effect hook, I am going to create the function. So function option on click handler, and the parameter is going to be option. And over here, I am going to set selected option equals to option. All right, now whenever I click on this option, it should be selected. Perfect. All right, so that's it for the option section. Next, we'll be working on the dots section, right? So over here in the render chart function, after the option section, over here, I am going to create a new function called render dots. And I am going to create this function over here, right above the render chart function. So like that. Alright, so the first thing we need to know within this function is the dots position. So over here, constant dot position equals to animated dot divide scroll x and sizes dot width. Alright, and then we are going to return a view, give it some styling. So style equals to height 30 and margin top 15. And within this view, we will have another view, and I'm going to give it some styling as well. So style equals to flex direction equals to row, align item equals to center, and justify content equals to center as well. And within this view, I am going to render 3 dots, alright, like this. So to do that, we will be using the map method. Okay, so over here, number of charts dot map item index arrow function, like that. And since I would like to add in some animation effect for these dots over here, we will need to use interpolate. So over here, constant opacity equals to dot position dot interpolate. Okay, input range index -1, index, and index +1. Output range will be 0.3, 1, 0.3, and extrapolate goes to claim. So here we animate the opacity. Next will be dot size equals to dot position dot interpolate, input range index -1, index, index +1, output range sizes dot base times 0.8, 10, and sizes dot base times 0.8, and extrapolate equals to claim. And lastly, we will need to animate the color as well. So constant dot color equals to dot position interpolate, input range index -1, index, index +1, output range equals to colors dot gray, colors dot primary, and colors dot gray. And lastly, the extrapolate is going to be claim as well. Alright, so once we have set up the configuration, next we can then return animated.view. And same thing, we need to supply the key prop. So over here, dot dash index opacity equals to opacity, and style equals to border radius equals to sizes dot radius, margin horizontal equals to 6, width equals to dot size, which is the one we have set over here, and height equals to dot size, and lastly the background color equals to dot color. Alright, so save it. Okay, so the dot section is being rendered properly, and whenever I scroll the chart, you will notice that the dot will animate gradually as well. Cool. Alright, so that's all for the chart section. Next, we'll be working on the buy section. Okay, so to do this, scroll to the bottom, and over here, right underneath the render chart method, we are going to create a new method called render buy. And I am going to create this function over here. So we are going to return a view, a container view with some styling. Style equals to margin top sizes dot padding, margin horizontal equals to sizes dot radius, padding equals to sizes dot radius, sizes dot radius, border radius equals to sizes dot radius as well, background color equals to white, and of course we need to include the shadow as well, so styles dot shadow. Alright, so we have the container view in place. Next, we'll be working on the label. This is what we call the currency label. We have already created the component for this, and also the values as well. So we need another view. Alright, so we need another view within this container view. Alright, so view with some styling, whereby the flex direction should be row, align item center, and margin bottom equals to sizes dot radius. So within this view, we will have two sections. The first one is what we call the currency, which is this section over here, and the second section is what we call the amount section, which is this section over here. So for the currency section, we need a view with a bit of styling, so style equals to flex 1, and within this view we will be using the custom component that we have created called currency label. Alright, so we will pass in a couple of props, so icon equals to selected currency dot image, currency equals to selected currency dot currency space wallet, and lastly the code equals to selected currency dot code. Alright, save it and see what we got over here. Alright, cool, so we have rendered the currency label. Next we'll be working on the amount section, amount view, so we'll be creating a view over here with a bit of styling. So flex direction equals to row, align item center, and within this view excuse me, we will have one view for the text component, and followed by an image component over here. So over here we will have a view with a bit of styling, so style equals to margin right equals to sizes dot base, and within this view we will have two text components. So the first text component will be $ selected currency dot wallet dot value, and the second text component will be selected currency dot wallet dot crypto and space selected currency dot code. Alright, just like that, save it. Okay, cool. Now we just need to add a bit of styling for these two text components. Alright, so for the first text component, we will have style equals to fonts should be H3, and for the second text component, style equals to Text align should be right. Color should be colors.gray, and the font should be body 4. Save it. Perfect. Now we just need to add an image component right underneath this view. Alright, so image source equals to icon start right arrow, resize mode equals to cover, and style equals to width 20, width 20, and height 20. Tint color equals to colors.gray. Alright, cool. Now we have completed the first part of this buy section. Next, we'll be working on the text button over here. So scroll down. After the second last view, we are going to use the customized component that we have created called text button, and we're gonna give it some props. So label equals to buy, and whenever I click on this button, I would like to navigate to the third and last screen, which is the transaction screen. Okay, so over here we will supply the onPress props as well. So onPress equals to navigation.navigate to transaction, and of course I will pass in the selected currency as well. So currency, selected currency. Let me see if I have included the navigation over here. Alright, cool. Okay, so save it. Now whenever I click on this button, I should navigate to the transaction screen. Perfect. Okay, so after the buy section, next we'll be working on the about section. This is actually quite straightforward. It's just a container view with two text components. Alright, so scroll down. Over here, I am going to create a new function called render about, and I am going to create this function over here. So function render about, and over here we will return a container view with a bit of styling. So style equals to margin top sizes dot padding, margin horizontal equals to sizes dot radius, padding equals to sizes dot radius as well, border radius equals to sizes dot radius, background color should be colors dot white, and of course we need to include the shadow as well, styles dot shadow. Alright, so within this view we will have two text components. So for the first text component, we will render about selected currency dot currency, and for the second text component, it will be selected currency dot description. Save it. Perfect. Now we just need to add a bit of styling for these two text components. So for the first text component, we will have style equals to fonts.hatch3, and for the second text component we will have style equals to margin top sizes.base, and the font is going to be body 3. Sweet. Alright, so the last component that we'll be working on for this screen, which is the crypto detailed screen, is the price alert component. And since we have already created a component for price alert, all we need to do is to import price alert over here. Right, so price alert. Then we are going to render this component over here, right underneath the render about a function. So price alert, we are going to give it a custom container style where the margin top equals to sizes.padding and margin horizontal equals to sizes.radius. Perfect. As simple as that. Alright, so that's all for the crypto detailed screen. Next, we'll be working on the transaction screen. So for the transaction screen, we have the header and then followed by the amount or value section. And lastly will be the transaction history section. So go back to the source code and head over to transaction.js file. So over here, I'm going to import a couple more components. So I need save area view, I need view, I need text, and also I need scroll view. And now that I'm here, I'm going to import from the components as well. So import from components. So here I will need the header bar, I'll need currency label, I'll need text button, and lastly I'll need transaction history. After this, we need to import the constants as well. So import from constants. We need dummy data, we need colors, sizes, and also fonts. Alright, so the first component that we'll be working on is the header bar component. So over here, I will get rid of this and I'll use save area view instead. So save area view, I am going to give it a bit of styling. So flex equals to 1. And within this save area view, I am going to render the header bar. And I am going to set the right equals to false because I do not want the star button in the transaction screen. So save it. Alright, so we have the header bar in place. Now before we can work on the next two sections, we need to first retrieve the param passed over from the crypto detailed screen in the render by function. Over here, right? We have passed in the selected currency. So go back to your transaction.js file, and over here we need route to access the param, and we are going to do it in the use effect hook. So react.use effect. I am going to retrieve the currency from route.params, and I'm going to set the selected currency. Don't worry, I will create this React state hook shortly. So set selected currency equals to currency. So over here, we'll create selected currency, set selected currency equals to react.useState. Initial value is going to be null. Alright, now since these two sections is going to be in a scroll view, I am going to create a scroll view underneath the header bar component. So scroll view, and within this scroll view, I will create a view with a bit of styling. So flex equals to 1, padding bottom equals to sizes.padding. And within this view, I am going to create a new function called render trait to render this section over here. So I'm going to create this function over here. So function render trait, and I'm going to return the container view. So view, give it a bit of styling. So style equals to margin top sizes.padding. Margin horizontal equals to sizes.padding as well. Padding equals to sizes.padding. Border radius equals to sizes.radius. Background color should be white. And of course, we need to give it a bit of shadow as well. Alright, so the first thing we're going to render within this container view is the currency label. So over here, currency label, we need to supply the prop. So icon equals to selected currency dot image. Currency equals to selected currency dot currency, and the code equals to selected currency code. Alright, so after the currency label component, next we'll render these two text components. So to do that, we need to create another container view. So over here, view, give it a bit of styling. So style equals to margin top sizes dot padding, margin bottom equals to sizes dot padding times 1.5, align item equals to center, justify content equals to center as well. Now within this view, we are going to have two text components. Alright, so text. For the first text component, it's going to be selected currency dot wallet dot crypto space selected currency dot code, and followed by the second text component, so $ selected currency dot wallet dot value. Save it. Cool. Now we just need to give it a bit of styling. So the first text component, style, the font should be H2. And for the second text component, we will have color equals to colors.gray, and the font it's going to be body 4. Alright, and lastly we need to render the text button over here. So underneath this view, we will create the text button component. We need to supply the prop as well, so label equals to trade, and whenever I click on this button, I would just simply console log the word trade. So console log trade. Cool. Alright, now that the trade section is completed, the last component that we'll be working on for this screen, or more specifically for this project, is the transaction history. And this is going to be super easy because we have already set up and create the component over here. So all we need to do is to create a new function right underneath the render trade function. So I'm gonna call this render transaction history, and I'm going to create a function over here, and all we need to do is to return the transaction history component with a bit of props. So custom container style equals to, we need to supply the shadow, so styles.shadow, and also we need to supply the history prop, right? So history equals to selected currency dot transaction history. Perfect. Alright guys, we have just coded this clean looking cryptocurrency app based on the design created by David Morgan on Dribbble.com. Now if you would like to support our work, the full source code for this project is available for just a few dollars on buyprogrammers.com, and I have included the link in the description below. If not, that's totally fine, as you can still achieve the same result by getting the starter template for this project and follow along the video. So if you like the video, if you think you have learned something new from this video, we'll be more than happy if you can just give it a thumbs up, comment, share to your friends, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. I will see you guys in the next video. Happy coding. Peace.